Okay. Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can't hear it. That's good. We have before it, first of all, let me welcome everybody here. Thank you for coming and attending our August board meeting. In spite of the clouds and the rain and everything else, it's still August and it's warm in here. We're meeting in here because it gets too hot in the gym, and now it's getting too hot in here. So, what can I say? Welcome to our meeting. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding our agenda before us this evening? Then I would entertain a motion for acceptance of the agenda as presented tonight.
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Sukan.
Second.
Second by Mr. Claridge. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have an agenda. Were there any comments or questions regarding our consent agenda? May have any questions?
We just need to, when we put it through, we need to put it through as approving the amended consent agenda? Because we amended?
No, we amended
So we're good.
we're good.
5 o'clock.
The 5 o'clock
Yeah.
meeting we did, so this one's good.
I have no questions.
Okay. So hearing none, the consent agenda is adopted by unanimous consent. Are there any patron comments, Ms. Tibbetts? And our next item then is, there's some good news apparently about our baseball field. Is that you, Mr. Trinkle?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
No, we want to talk to the board a little bit about this and kind of fill you in. Mr. Coach Price right here, who we all know is just absolutely done some amazing things. I've discussed multiple times with him about we want to host a state tournament sometime. We know our school building, and everybody that comes and plays baseball at Minidoka, all they do is talk about we have the nicest field in the state, we have the best concession stand, all the positive things you wanted to be able to host something. And the last 3 years, me and Jared discussed about getting turf on the baseball field, the infield, because me as an athletic director, I go out to watch baseball practice. It's 3.5 hours long. They spend 2 hours practicing, an hour and a half working on the field. And him and his staff literally do all the work to where it helps our maintenance. I mean, in all honesty, it helps our maintenance. And when you play baseball, softball, and you're a player, those kids are actually phenomenal yard workers. I mean, you can ask. I mean, she'll tell you right there, those kids take pride in that stuff. And so the coaches really teach them and rely on them to do it. And me just not understanding, because I've always been around turf. It's like, whoa, me and him have been in so many fields. We're the only ones that have turf fields. And we're just like, wow, it's very common in baseball now. And it's actually saves a lot of money.
So
well, Jared put his head go ahead, sorry.
Turf. Are you saying artificial turf?
Yes,
then is
artificial
what you're
turf.
When you're saying that I want to make sure I had the correct
it's artificial turf.
definition.
You see it on football fields, and about 10 years ago, really shifted to baseball fields. And
Okay.
Jared saw Idaho Falls this summer, and they just redid their whole infield, not the outfield. So the outfield stays grass. Well, Jared sat down and knows a lot of people, and he's Coach Bryce, and he came up with all the money. They turned the infield where we need nothing from anybody, but just your blessing to go ahead and do it. And we actually met with Jason and Anthony, took them out to the field, and went over all the infield. And they actually, if we're able to do that, they want to take all the grass from the infield, transport it over to the bathrooms on the soccer field, and it's about 6,500 square feet they can shift out there with dirt too. So it's actually going to save money for the maintenance and that stuff too. So it's actually kind of helping take care of one spot to shift to another spot on campus. And Jared's got it all lined up to where he'd like to start by November 1st, where it's done basically by about December, right? December, where we hit spring, we're ready to go. And our field would be, honestly, I don't see how we can have the best field in the state if we have that too. It's already one of the best, but I think that turns us into the best field in the state, which could bring state tournaments, more tournaments in the summer, which Jared does a phenomenal job with him and his staff. But it's something that we've just really been like, wow, this would be huge. And what it saves us in money for the future as far as watering, reseeding, all that stuff, we no longer have to deal with baseball. The upkeep is just literally suck the pellets up that they put on, get them off, and repel them. And that is very, very minimal compared to everything else. And
now you're going to have to explain pellets.
Well, they're little rubber, tiny pellets that are on turf, and they actually help it slide. So when the baseball player goes and slides, they slide. So if you watch a football game in the fall, it's coming up in 2 weeks, watch them when they get hit and they hit the ground, you'll see all these little black things come up. and you might think it's like dust detection rubber pellets. And they do it in baseball and actually have sliding by each base, so and it's much safer than grass because their cleats don't get caught as much, so it protects the joints.
Except it burns them.
Well, but in baseball they got pants on, so they're not gonna skin
They
out.
do in football too.
Yeah, but they don't cover their calves or elbows.
I have to ask, how often are you replacing the turf? Are you just gonna
No,
reseed
you
it?
don't, it's 20 years. It's gonna last over 20 years.
It's just those pellets that need to
Yeah, it's just the pellets that need to be replaced. And so let's say you get a rip in it.
So do you vacuum them?
Yeah, it's literally vacuum. It's literally what it is.
Okay.
It hooks onto the back like a gator, and it pulls it, pick them up,
Oh.
and then you fill them all back up with the new pellets, and it'll shoot them right back out.
So to just be the infield. Or
Yeah, only the
Just
infield.
infield.
You don't need to do the outfield because that leaves it that natural grass.
Saving a lot of detergent too.
Come on, you guys,
You are-
I did my stuff. I went through my baseball stuff with,
I know.
come on.
Just have a question for you, Brady. I talked with Jason today, and I don't know when the last time you talked to him was, but he had mentioned that the plan had been was repurposing the sod. But he said they just found out from the company that they'd have come in. I mean, it's like $1,500 or something just to bring in the sod cutter, and that's before any work was done. So he didn't know how feasible that was.
I hadn't talked to him about
okay.
saying that, but
Because I think he mentioned maybe somebody bringing like a front end loader and just kind of scraping the grass that way.
sure.
I don't know what kind of condition it would be in,
Sure.
but so yeah, just maybe follow up with him.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was actually with him today, but we were dealing with issues on our soccer field.
Gotcha.
A little crazy out there too, but you know, this is, and I brought it up good news because, you know, it's one of the things we're really not asking for anything. It's what Jared's done to that field and the tradition we have in baseball here. I mean, if you talk to everybody, they talk about, comes to Minidoka, it's wrestling, football, baseball are really the top three, and that's what we're known for, and we're consistently there. And I think the more and more we keep adding to that stadium, and literally, I don't think Jared really came in and asked for anything from the board besides approval because he's found a way to come up with things to help the program. You know,
Oh, batting facility.
yes, the hitting facility,
Field
which what he did out 10 years ago.
Oh, it was in 2017.
Okay, so 6 years ago, we got one of the best indoor facilities in the state for our kids. And, you know, we're really seeing people starting to invest money in baseball. Well, we're taking a lot of pride in this, so we're ready to keep moving forward. And, you know, Jared did a lot of work on this with some help with some other people. And you know, we'd like to get started on it, in all honesty, with the board's blessing.
Do you want to give your blessing or do you want to vote?
Oh, that's cool. It's not costing the district any money.
I say we just say we give you our blessing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he's also a great appliance repair person too, if you ever need him. He's quick. He's good. I needed him for my washer. Just gonna give you.
Both of you. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for everything you've done, especially because you're doing it so much on your own time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, each year I was just telling Reed that I spend about $3,500 in red dirt alone each year, which we won't have to do that anymore. And then, like we mentioned about washing the clothes and getting the red dirt out, that's one of the biggest complaints. And we won't do that anymore. And I won't care. I don't think it would be as hard on the baseball pants and uniforms as
She's no fun, I swear, boy. They need to pay their dues just like we did.
I use the same as the dirt to fix the lights.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you for good news and interesting news. All right.
Can I just mention one thing I saw good news, and I know it was kind of put out there, but I can still put it out there where it's, I guess, where it's public. But I saw that Sherry Bean was recognized as the
Oh yes.
Special Education Administrator of the Year. So I'd like to
Yes.
acknowledge her in
Yeah,
that.
I think we
Yes.
need to. You beat me to it. I was going to try and put that in someplace.
Yeah, very well deserved.
I also want to give a shout out to someone that I found out this summer has an amazing singing voice, and that is if you ever need someone to sing the national anthem, Dustin Heath can do a wonderful job.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, he did it at the 4th of July, in one of the nights when they were having, was it Sunday night? Yeah, Sunday night. Yeah, and they announced Dustin Heath was going to be doing the national anthem. I said, who? And I was so impressed. So if you ever need him, he's really good. Yep.
All right.
He does a beautiful voice.
Yes.
Yes.
Only got the Wilson Theater.
All right, on to our discussion items. We wanted to have some discussion about an in-depth audit, and I guess our question for Mr. Kent is the fact that as you're going through everything, well, maybe I'll let you ask the question. Do you see a need for it?
So, for starters, if you remember, we checked with Harris CPA to see what that would cost when these discussions started. It was thrown out there, 50,000. Well, we don't know how accurate that is, but it was 10,000 just to have us send them some paperwork and files to even begin the process. So that was right off the bat. And then, okay, we need to look into more. We had a meeting with Jacob Catmull, who hopefully will be approved to perform our single state audit. But he said he could do a forensic audit. And he said a forensic audit is really just an audit where both parties agree to what's to be done, the scope of the work.
Okay.
But he thought that would cost him around $10,000 to do. And really, he'd then get with you and find out exactly what you wanted. But also in that meeting, he shared with us that as he had been looking through the software and our funds, nothing stood out to him that would indicate fraud. And so we're there. In talking with Daryl just today, do you want to share your findings?
Yeah, along those same lines, Jacob, when he went through transaction by transaction. He literally pulled the full year's transaction list and just made sure there was no entities paid that shouldn't have been paid or unreasonably paid, and he had nothing there. And then as we're going through now, all of the funds are still there. It may not be the cleanest thing in the world, but there's nothing showing that the funds have exited inappropriately. So, again, with that, and then with the comments we had, we could go more in depth, but would that really be beneficial? Is it cost effective as far as what we're needing? Because usually your audit already covers the majority of all of that. It's just whether you want to go more in depth into some certain area, and at that point, we're already going to be doing that anyways.
And in a sense, as you're getting used to the books and everything, then you're doing that anyway, aren't you?
I am, because there's a lot of things like reconciliations I'm already starting back over at the beginning of the year. So
Okay.
I'm already doing some of that in-house just in the cleanup process. So.
And we have had the Nampa school district business manager come in and provide some training to Taylor and to Daryl. And I think he said the same thing. Yeah, just we don't have the cleanest books and kind of head scratchers in places, but nothing that would warrant what we're looking for. And also the casual business manager has come in to provide some training. I would feel comfortable really in saying I don't think it's needed. So when it comes to that as a discussion item, I think there would be better use of funds in the district.
Right. It's the head scratchers that we're.
And that's what as Daryl gets more familiar with Visions and the software programs, I think he will just automatically be cleaning up a lot of those things. But that's where we're at.
Okay.
Is that something we need a motion for?
Right now, it's a discussion item. We have one coming up on whether
on the action items, whether to do it or not.
So, Bonnie, if I can add in there as well, the head scratchers are more along just a strange procedures. Like, for instance, bank reconciliations, instead of doing them in software, it would type up all of the transactions in an Excel spreadsheet, tie it out there, and then call it good. So there's just really random parts along those lines. But again, when we go through and we are doing the bank recs, it ties. It's just they had something, for some reason they started doing this random process. So.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions or anything? Like I said, from my point of view,
Student representative.
Do we have our student representative here tonight?
I'm thinking there's some questions.
I'm whispering here, sorry. She did that.
Well, if you have things you want to say,
Yes.
please. We'll stick you right into the discussion items here.
Hello everyone, I'm Minidoka, student representative. I have lots to share.
Could you possibly maybe come closer or something, because this
Here.
is on.
It picks her up fairly good, but it goes her.
I have a
Okay.
voice, so
Yeah,
is second.
that's probably good right there.
So first off, we have registration was a blast. And we had lots of people come. We have actually a lot of new students. We have 57.
Wow.
So all the grades. We have 7 new staff members. I don't know who all of them are, but congratulations for coming. We had a great. Lots of people came to the campus cleanup. We had about 50 students, so that was also great. And then 9th grade orientation was lots of fun. I was there. I loved being there with all the students, and so I thought that was a blast. We have 355 new freshmen.
How many?
355. So many freshmen. So,
Yeah, that's a big number.
for football,
That's getting
they
close to our
played
class
Thunder
numbers.
Ridge. I had 15.
Last week.
19. We won, so it was a great game. For soccer, the boys tied with Kimberly, and the girls' game was tonight. And then so we have a volleyball tournament on Thursday. We had a great first day of school today, and we had the back to school bash. I was just there. We had lots of people come. We had a great turnout, more than we expected. So it was wonderful. And so homecoming is coming, and I'm excited for that. We want to use the plaza at the Wilson Theater, so I'm coming to ask if that is acceptable.
Just like before, right?
Just like before.
And I think that turns out wonderful. The pictures from it and everything that I've seen are great. Does anybody have?
To allow
I
it,
think it's
then
great.
I think it's great too.
Yeah.
So we have lots of. We have a few fundraisers. Right now we have 2. We're exploring our options, and that's pretty much it. So Minidoka is happy to be here.
We're happy to have you here.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
we
Thank
will-
you for coming and giving us what's happened so far.
Yes. Thank you for
Look
We will
forward
see
to
you
seeing
next
you
month.
every time. We'll see you next time, and you'll be on the agenda next time.
Because we did have to change homecoming. It was September 15th, and
Is
we
it-
changed to September 29th.
That's what I thought. It was end of
Back it up
September.
to- So they'd have more time to
Super
plan
Bowl.
for
Oh my
things.
goodness.
So.
I'm so sorry. I forgot that. Yeah. So we did
Yes.
move it. I was the 30th, but I'm sure you have.
Well, it's Friday's the 29th.
Is it?
So that's why I-
And the dance is the 30th.
Yeah, the dance.
And the dance is the 30th. Yeah, got it.
Is the 30th then? Yes.
No,
Dance is the 30th.
the
Game is the
homecoming, the
29th.
29th.
We moved it because we want to focus on the Super Bowl, and that takes up a lot of our time. So we just let's just move it down a week or so. So if we have that in the Super Bowl, and we're ready to
Well,
start the year.
when do you start your Super Bowl collections?
It's the week before. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me check my calendar.
When's the last time we lost the Super Bowl? We've been dominating.
Forever.
I love it.
Don't jinx it. That's enough.
We start
So can the 14th?
The 18th.
I was gonna say.
18th through the
It's just the.
Yeah, starting this
Yes.
18th.
It's the food drive.
it's the food drive.
So our next board meeting is on September 18th. So how about a challenge to the school board that on the next board meeting we bring some Super Bowl items to
I'll
give
take
to
that
them
challenge.
that night.
I'll take that challenge.
Okay,
I like it.
And that can't be wheat.
it what? No wheat.
Canned food, that's okay. We can do that.
Okay. All right.
Meatballs, mac and cheese.
And I'll tell you something pretty cool when we get to that week, and you know it's all the Burley kids and Minidoka kids. If you go to Smith's, that's where they put the big sell on all their canned items. It's that week.
Actually,
So if you walk in there, they'll have like normally $1.25, and you just load up on it. And honestly, I always remind Minidoka kids, just go to Smith's. Go to Smith's. The Burley sponsor, but for some reason, I think we're going on. We were just talking about. I think this 18 straight years.
Is it?
Super Bowl we've won, and the football game will be 20 years straight this year if we win that.
Yeah.
So we got a good streak going in both. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of people come out to support for the Super Bowl.
Wonderful.
So it's great.
Awesome.
That
And
is
so maybe on the 11th, when we have our agenda review, we'll send out a little reminder to everybody.
Yeah, great idea, Steve.
You're going to need it, right? You're going to be at agenda review.
Yes, thank you
Yes,
so much.
thank you.
We are glad to have you.
Yes,
So
thank
feel
you very
welcome.
much.
And when you see us in town, wave, hi. So yay. Oh, woo.
See,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Cool. Well, that's a very unusual first name. Any questions or comments on the administrative department or committee reports that were in the board book, and then we're also waiting to hear the report on the damage from the hailstorm.
My only comment is I really like the technology report. That was so clean and easy to. I was just like, oh, that's green check marks. We're good to go.
The only question I had on that was, what is jump?
Jump start?
Server that you connect to that's at the site, so we can act as if we're at the site.
Oh.
So we install jump servers
Everywhere?
at each school.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a clean looking report. I like that.
Thanks.
Yeah, premise jump boxes. That's what I was
So
wondering.
on-premise jump servers is what we put in at each school.
Okay.
So we can act as if we're at the site.
Well, I thought it had something to do with Mexican jumping beans or something like that. You know, I just
It's just computers.
Mexican.
I haven't heard. Please don't. It's taken care of. All right. Anything else? Until we hear who's giving us the report on the hail? You are.
That'll be me.
Okay.
So I've met with Jason a few times. In fact, I had Miriam take me up, and I was able to inspect some of the HVAC units that were damaged. I have pictures, and I should have sent them, but I'll make sure to do that tomorrow. But some of them are really bad.
Oh my.
Oh yeah, and when you look at the coil, kind of coiled fins on them, I mean, some of them are just solid white just because they got impacted so hard. You know, I'm sure not going to be repairable. The state and our insurance adjuster is supposed to be in on Wednesday
Oh, okay.
to go around with Anthony and also Jason. And I don't know how long it'll take them to get their report to us, but that is in the works. And when I first noticed it when I came, it had actually, a ticket had already been opened up with our insurance company, but then forgotten with just the turmoil going on. And so they were aware that it was coming, so it's no surprise.
That's hard to take. I guess thank goodness for insurance.
Hopefully, I'm wondering if there's something we can do because a lot of them are just open, right? I mean, there's nothing. Yeah, doing something like that, putting screens on the front, I don't know, but we're going to look at that.
I do know
Unless
from business, from the business side of things, a lot of HVAC stuff is on quite back ordered. So the sooner we can get this adjustment done and get stuff ordered, the better off we're going to be. Because I sell a lot of stuff like that, and the wait times are extensive right now.
Well, I guess my question, the only other question I had on would be when I was reading through HVAC started supposedly June 5th on Mount Harrison, but it was still going on last week and teachers couldn't even get in their classrooms.
That
Little
is accurate. They had that building so torn apart that I know Maggie went in and she told me that Monday they couldn't get in, and she pretty much told them we are going to be in tomorrow. So from 8 to 3, you can have it after that, and so they did get in and they used their rooms, got them situated, and then the company came in after that to continue their work and then had it all cleaned up. Well, by the weekend, sort of, but we could start school.
Okay.
Yep.
And hopefully those HVAC units get here
Hopefully.
sometime before Christmas, maybe. I heard a rumor about before Christmas at one point. I don't know if it's going to happen.
I haven't heard when, but I will follow up on the date.
Yeah, be curious to know. Any problems with busing today? Did anybody hear of any problems?
She's gone.
Yeah, she had to head back to deal with some more stuff.
Deal with more
She
stuff.
said the last bus got in about 7 o'clock.
Oh my.
All rough.
Okay, so we hope for better things tomorrow. Pardon,
That's
they
a
didn't
good
lose any
thing.
kids.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Well, we have elementary here. We could ask them. Busing? Good? Bad? Ugly?
It took us a while to get kids on the right bus.
Mhm.
Some of my teachers didn't get kids' names and addresses on their backpacks, so they were a little upset at us from that. But it made me feel better when I found out there were other schools too. So there were kids that they had that were not, like, they were still trying to deliver them when they should have been at the high school.
Okay.
So we're fixing it for tomorrow.
There you go. Good. East?
But other than that, I mean, I think it went really well.
East, did you have any?
We just had to wait a while today, but we expect that. And
Yeah.
I think it was the same last year for like a day or two. People got looked up about how long it took, and then the next day they were there waiting for us to get out of school. So we're not too worried about it. It took a while today, but they said they had to pick up a lot of crying kindergartners. And
I know that.
we were just fine.
Yeah. Ellen? Yay? Nay? Okay.
It was not fun.
It was
So I had actually started registration trying to get this like in line for a lot of them. So we operate off of bus numbers. That's what we think of, and we want to put a child on the bus. And after all these years, it just finally hit me. I didn't know they operate off of addresses. The first thing they want to know on this child is what's the address on. I don't know. I mean, and they can't even tell you their last name. So we're on the radio trying to get the office to give us addresses to find out for sure. So there's a disconnect there. We do operate off of numbers versus addresses. Because you can't line a child up in a line with addresses.
No.
So you have to have a bus number. So somehow we need to get together and see if we can't get them to help us figure out bus numbers ahead of time. My office filled with a lot of phone calls today.
Well, when
They didn't know which bus.
Yeah.
Their little one's coming.
Wouldn't the parents have that information though? What bus number?
We don't. I've had kids at school for a while. We don't know until a couple days in, it seems like.
Well, I noticed.
Registration, they can tell you, but they don't record it. So that's like, so if he went up there and said, "What bus does my child ride?" They would literally look at the child, and they would say, "Oh, he rides this bus," but they don't write it down anywhere. So it's not in Power School. No, it's not ever written down. So it's not ever recorded.
Okay.
So did you?
Then we got a list. I asked for a list, and they did the same sort of thing. They had like addresses on it, and then they did change about 4 of our bus numbers. I didn't know about until today. So if we don't know there's a different bus number, but they don't record it. So even like when I call and I say, "What bus does this person ride?" It's the same thing. They'll go through the route, figure out what bus it rides, but it's never documented anywhere. It's never crossed over. It needs to be.
Yet I think there's a spot in Power Schools for that information.
That's exactly like two.
Yeah.
And they want the legacy field and one's not, but it's a little bit difficult too because I have no idea how it operates on that side of it, but I worry. Like there was an accident by the school one time and I hopped on the bus and kids don't memorize their numbers anymore, and so I don't think they have a list of
children's names and their phone numbers, because I think there might be some sort of thing that they're not supposed to have. That's a safety issue. So,
We actually took papers out because we had one bus driver that they are not getting on my bus unless they have an address in their hand. And so, so we were getting those. So then my secretary just hurried and printed a sheet that put their names and their addresses, and we went to take them to the bus, and they're like, "Oh, I don't want that." They might have after at the end of the day. But so yeah, there needs to be some communication that I think can be easily worked out.
So I would say just from, I actually used to work for our school and I was a delivery supervisor, so I kind of understand how routes work. I would say the problem is a disconnect because what you're talking about is having a bus number that can change all the time due to maintenance, whatever the case might be. But there probably should be and could be at least a route number established that each kid can be tied to a route number, because that route number is never going to change or could always remain the same. And the bus number could change. And they can say, hey, bus number 16 today is route 7, and it would be an easy connection point.
And I thought the same thing, Jake, but you can't line a child up in a line based on a route number. You're really still matching the bus number.
Kangaroos and bears or something.
Well, we've done that too, but and even if the bus number change isn't as big of a deal as just not knowing what bus to get on.
If we look at the bus numbers, they look at the addresses.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
and
what
so
I
to connect the two is
what I would suggest, or what I would say, is that you would do it by route number. That you would have a route number established. This is the route number, and maybe the buses have a sleeve or something that they can quickly change out. If there's a maintenance problem with a bus, they can just slide in a piece of paper that says Route 6, and then that's the route. You're matching number to number.
So Paul is absolutely fabulous. We are lucky. They have a spot, and that bus, no matter what their number is, they park in that same spot. So that's what I'm saying.
That's
that
not a problem.
That's really not a problem. They can change the bus number all day long because the bus drivers are the same for the most part, and they park in the same spot.
Gotcha.
And then like today even, they really almost always know their children, and if they don't, that's when they reach out to us and they're like, I need this address, and I'm like, but I really didn't.
Yeah.
We just need a connection.
It would be nice to have that power school connection piece.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Bus right. That's new software that the
Yeah, and they-
transportation department
In their
purchased.
department report, then they mentioned that they had all the addresses in. It sounded like they were getting close on having bus right going.
Someday our school secretaries and the transportation secretary could somehow get together. Because I think that between the two of them, then they make that connection happen.
But they've never been trained on Power School, and if you don't Power School, it's confusing.
But even if they didn't have Power School, if they would even give us a list, our secretaries
Take
would
it
put it into Power School.
Well,
My secretary does that.
after looking at the bus routes that are on our board book for today for approval, I don't know how any of the drivers get to where they need to be, because that is the most confusing map.
Oh man. Kiddos on there that they've never seen before, and that's why they need an address, because they've never seen them before.
Because Mama took him there in the morning, and guess what? They're going to ride the bus home tonight.
Well, I know my first grader made it home about the same time as he got off last year, so I thought it must have went pretty okay.
I think overall, in all honesty, it was probably our best day for first day of school of kids getting out and getting where they needed to be.
Good.
Well, that's
good. Well, and I know our bus driver. She takes. They look out for those little kids. They really do.
And they're so patient, and even with each other, it's like, no, I think it's so and so's route, and so then I'll take them over there and give them the address, and they're.
But you're right. They know those kids. They really do.
Yeah. Or at least, and if I don't know the kid, if I give them an address, they will know which bus it is.
Oh yes.
You know each other's routes.
Yep.
And I'm glad they don't just take off not knowing, right? They don't just
Right.
up and take off.
Yeah.
They really want to know where the child is.
Right.
And we have
Yes.
60 new ones. I know we've got over 50 some odd in our building too that are brand new. So, considering I thought it went overly
Good.
well.
So, if I may
thank you.
ask, how many did you have student-wise today? Did you have a count?
669.
How about you?
We're down. We're down to 480. And that's with 30 newcomers
Wow.
being pulled in from other parts of yeah, we're down.
East?
531 today. We were at 490 last Monday.
You're 490 last
Oh.
Monday. What are you today?
531.
Ooh.
That's sporting
Long
events?
for, and they're bound to kids.
About 25 more than we anticipated.
Yeah, I think the allocate, you know,
Wow.
to that at the end of the year is 480.
Everybody still have a seat?
Me and Greg are sitting on the
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No, Greg and I. Careful, you have an English teacher in here.
It's one of my pet
We
peeves.
got rolling carts. We've been walking around hallways as well. We got it.
Wow. Okay, well, that was
Thank you,
interesting
guys.
and informative. Thank you very much. Superintendent report?
Okay, well, in my update that I sent Sunday night, you got some of my report. You know, staff held their dyslexia trainings, the trauma trainings. One thing I was able to do was go to the Mini Casia Center, the CSI Mini Casia Center, meet their director and staff there. Hopefully we can continue some of the partnerships and relationships that we have. I did want to give you an update on the concessions. Our building did get past their county and state final inspections.
Oh, good.
So that's out of the way. Jason did let me know that things that still have to happen. He'd like to have an open house. Maybe we do it before, one of the football games. Do it 2 hours early, something like that. We're still waiting on the sod and have to work that out to get it down. Well, if we can make it work, if it's not too torn up. Yeah. And then also we're waiting on benches that the welding shop and the construction classes are building.
Nice.
And outside of that, it's done, ready to
The
go.
lockers are ended.
Yep.
Everything then. Good.
Awesome.
Well, he did mention we were still waiting on those, so
Do the
I
new
believe
ones
they're in. Yep.
Well, that's cool. They're building the benches in house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, nice.
So that's that. A couple of things when I met with Daryl today, this will impact us as we move forward. But if you remember, the legislature passed the bill that gave monies to districts for facilities, right? You pay off your bonds first and then levies. We were able to get that number, and we're going to be at 1.591 or 2 million. Is what we'll be getting that we'll put towards our bond. And we're going to see what that does for us. And then really we just have to get working on our facilities with the levy coming up. We're going to have to get with admin at our admin meetings, discuss needs, maybe even some wants that need to be included in that levy. In that regard, I do have questions, and maybe those who haven't been on the board long enough have this needs, like a 10-year needs plan. It was supposed to be every 2 years for each levy. When I look at the levy flyer and it listed projects that were going to get done, well, it didn't have equipment, but then up in a pie graph, it said 76% will be for equipment, repairs and equipment, but then it didn't list anything. So were the items that were on this list supposed to be purchased with levy monies? Is there anyone who can tell me that?
But that had changed since when you guys did the first one. That one you have right in your hand had changed since the board had first approved it.
Yes,
So things
that
were
is
added to that one.
Yes.
Yes.
If I remember right, that is correct.
You got any input, Mary? No.
But that's right. Yeah, it is right.
But these items are supposed to be had levy money spent on them? Okay.
Yeah, that's how it
Yes.
was laid out.
That's
Okay.
how it was told us.
And was it told that to the public?
Yeah.
I'm only asking because I have people asking to spend money, and all I have to go off of is this.
I'm gonna say yes, it was.
Okay.
Because that's where, see, I'm just gonna kind of go back. This deal that's going on out at the high school right now should have been done 15 years ago. And
The concession stand.
the concession stand
Okay.
stuff, it didn't get done because something happened with funds. Okay.
HVAC
Okay.
at Mount Harrison was supposed to have been done 6-8 years ago.
And so this is what happens is the public doesn't want to vote because things don't get done like they're supposed to. So yes.
So we're going to have our work cut out for us
Yes.
this fall.
Can I add something to that? Actually, this is sort of related, not related. So I know I've told some of you guys I'm on another board called the Associated General Contractors of Idaho. So I was just at a conference in Coeur d'Alene for that, and two things that came out of that. One, Debbie Critchfield was there, and I actually kind of asked her the questions. I know we've been talking about the what did the can't think of the name right now, huh?
The ADA funding formula?
No, the Tech or what the tech stuff.
Oh,
Art Tech.
Art Tech.
And so basically, she said they are, because I had made the comment about how they don't have the funding for the materials and stuff like that. And that she had said they were working on trying to increase those. They agree those are down, and that they were from the state level. They're working on getting better funding for those for those programs. And two, another thing that came out of that was the AGC, obviously, because they benefit from construction, is working on potentially changing their stance, which was once we only support for their like packing stuff like that. When they did financing for helping legislation was only to legislators and stuff like that, and they're looking at potentially changing that to where they might help local areas, like if they're trying to pass a bond to help fund it and come in and supply some support. Obviously, I'm in a pretty good position being on that board to say, hey, look at us, but which I'm going to do. But so that's just something, like I said, that's not something obviously to discuss or anything. It's just something as we're talking about bonds, saying that there might be some help out there for us to help provide some assistance in trying to push a bond through, because obviously from the construction side they say, hey, this is a win for us from the construction side because it employs our members.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Any idea when we'll know on the CTE funding grant request? Do you know anything on that, Daryl? For the out?
So added cost funding, we already have this year's allocation. It's 190,000 is what it is. It's still set at that prior rate, so ag will be getting about 15,000 per unit, and currently most of their extended contracts eat that completely.
And then dates for when they're going to distribute the 45 million or whatever for CTE grants that were applied.
Like the one Rick wrote.
That closes the end of this month, and they will decide who
12th or 13th or something.
Yeah, it's kind of what it is.
Are we in? We are in on that, right?
Yeah, we got ours in early.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got 4 or 5 different CTE programs with grants already.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
Cool. Thank you. Very good. Anything else, sir?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Do you have anybody have questions for Mr. Larson on any of his report? Okay. Policy discussion on policy 320.00, the attendance policy. Have there been any comments or anything submitted regarding this?
No, and no changes have been made either.
We haven't made
Any changes or anything?
The only information I can give you since your last board meeting is that Kim had reached out to me and indicated that the policy changes that we had made to that policy previously, last year was her best attendance year. Dealing with attendance, the way that policy was written was the best she's ever had. So I'm not sure if you want us to continue to pursue changes to our attendance policy. We did catch one thing that had to do with vacationing. I can't remember. Anyway, we had it as an was absences due to weather related. So like when we had the floods, they couldn't get in. Some students were under, and we excused those. We had it under unexcused as an unexcused absence, and we felt like that probably should be excused. I mean, we're saying we can't get you in. So we did make that change. Are there any additional thoughts that you've had that you would like to
I've had a couple of questions posed to me from some parents, some ag parents and some dance parents. So We excuse absences for
Did you
school
say ag parents?
ag parents.
Thank you.
Yeah. We excuse absences for school related, like a basketball game or a volleyball game if you're going to that. I had some parents reach out to me and say, we have some kids that are in 4-H, and if they go to some 4-H stuff at the state level or whatever it may be, and they're representing Minico High School, could that not be an excused absence? And so that was something that it's not written in our policy, but I thought, man, that's not a bad idea. These kids are doing something that's good, and there was that. And then I had two other parents reach out to me and said, every year our girls dance, and they do a performance for all of the Minicaja 5th grade students of the Nutcracker. Those kids, the dance kids, have to go out of school that Thursday as an unexcused absence, and then we bus kids, some whatever 4th or 5th grade class, to the King Fine Arts Building where they perform, and the kids that go to the King Fine Arts Building to watch it
Get excused.
are
I
part
mean,
of
it's a
school,
part of
but
school.
the kids that are actually performing it are having to have unexcused absence.
I think it's what it is.
We
It's
can
scheduled.
fix that
I was
one.
gonna say, I think it is, but I think what it is it's a scheduled. The ones that are excused are athletic is scheduled. They are scheduled.
Well, not just athletics. It's not
but
just
I mean band and whatever.
Well, right. It's actually a school function.
Yeah.
That's
You
the
know,
problem
so
with
we're
4-H isn't.
yeah. So even though they're representing Minico,
Yeah.
it's like we
so
don't
like
have
the kids that are in the dance, the dance company is a private dance company, but they are performing for
the students
the
of the
Minicaja
county.
students. And then the ag kids, it's 4-H. It's
Yeah, they do know your government.
Yeah.
You know, why shouldn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
we can work on this, Michelle.
I just think when those parents came in, I thought those are great comments. That's the kind of things that I want to hear.
Yeah.
That we're not recognizing. So just a couple little things like that.
Okay. Any other comments or anything? Anybody hear anything on the attendance policy than that? Okay, then let's move on into business with our action items. The first one is the West Minico Student Handbook. Did anybody have any comments or questions on anything they saw in that?
More reading.
It looks very familiar to last year.
I was wishing any changes would have been in red so that they
Yeah,
stand out,
that's
but
what I was wishing
that's not
too.
going to happen. Then you
Yeah.
still have to read every word. But
It said it was highlighted.
They did.
it did.
I didn't catch anything that looked.
Yeah.
It looked okay to me.
Okay. So if that's the case, then I would entertain a motion for approval of the West Minico Student Handbook.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to accept the West Minico Handbook for 2023 as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Anderson, second by Mr. Perez. Any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The guest teacher handbook. I guess they're no longer substitutes. They're guest teachers now.
They've always been guest teachers for, well, not always, but we thought, I'm gonna say 5 or 6 years ago, that it might be nice to call them a guest teacher so they felt more included. I know Twin Falls uses that particular terminology. It's not original on my part at all.
I just never heard it
Sounds-
until I saw it on
Sounds welcoming. You know,
Yeah.
as a guest.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Come in.
Be out again.
I read that.
That's what I had in my head. Yeah.
I can tell that's where you're going.
I did highlight this one. I apologize. This was done in July, and we didn't get it included on the July board meeting. And I checked with Carrie to make sure it was on here because I was having a panic attack this morning, and I'm glad I did. But everything in red is just updates. If you look at page 5, there are some areas in yellow that I wanted to draw your attention to. That particular page is the biggest change. We have the salary schedule. You'll notice that I increased all of those by $10 in each of those areas. That is to keep up with Cache County. Cache County. I keep trying to tell Chris not to do this, but he does it anyway. Anyway, there is a difference because of our bus schedule. and the shorter day at elementary versus the secondary. So what we're suggesting, and I've talked with food service about this, is that if they are subbing in the elementary, they have an unpaid lunch. If they are subbing in the secondary, they can receive a paid lunch. And food service will keep track of that and bill me later on that. It's going to cost under $5 per person if they take advantage of that. The other piece that I'd like to draw your attention to, I had mentioned the possibility of doing a permanent sub at each of the buildings. We, if they are, if we pay them as a para, this is my understanding. Lexi and I are still doing a little bit more research on this. Right now, we are recommending 2 days a week for a total of 74 days for the permanent sub. That keeps them under the 20 hours a week, so we wouldn't have to pay any benefits or health insurance on them. It is to and pay them a daily rate of $111.25, which is right in between. They're going to have to, because if they're on site every week, they have to be highly qualified, which means they need 32 credits or they need to pass the para-pro test. This puts them right in a pay range between being highly qualified as a para-pro and a bachelored substitute. So what we're suggesting is $111.25 is the daily rate, which is right there in between, and that's still $100 less than it costs for us to cover one teacher for 1 day using staff to cover that during their prep. That's $100 less a day. So I think that we can get, I think this is a really advantageous commitment for staff. We are checking to see if, based on the daily rate, we've visited with NAMPA. They indicated that because it's a daily rate, that they would be able to work the equivalent of full time without the benefits and the insurance. But we're confirming that. Mr. Larson has indicated that he wanted us to get that straight from the State Department. We'll get that in writing, that that's okay. If that's okay, then we may, the possibility is to hire a single person on a daily rate as a permanent sub in the buildings. And like I said, it's quite a bit less expensive to have that person on staff, and it's really advantageous to have them there on a daily basis because then they become familiar with the intervention processes, the discipline processes. They know the routines really well, and it's a much easier fit and a much better day for students and staff. So that's the recommendation here, and I don't want to pull the wool over your eyes since I didn't get this in until so. But we are asking to give this a try. At the moment, we're recommending 2 days a week. If we can get permission to have them 4 days a week, we would like to do that. And I can bring that back to the board if we get that confirmation.
Okay. I thought of a question for you, Daryl, and that was, I thought there was talk at one point about substitutes being paid twice monthly instead of once monthly to help with that. Is that even? I don't know where that. I don't know where I heard that from.
I do think Lexi.
I think she might have brought it up.
Lexi and Amber have been discussing that, and there would be a certain group substitutes, and then I think it was paying stipends out as well earlier, and I will follow up
Okay, I was just,
where they're at.
I don't know where I heard that, but
yeah, it was tossed around to NAMPA does a payroll that sort of way. They do one payroll for their teachers and admin and everything, and then they do this cleanup for substitutes and stipends just to kind of have it separated.
And it does make sense in terms of the substitute because, for example, we typically do our interviews on the first Thursday of the month, and we usually we'll send it as an emergency hire, and then get confirmation from you all. But if they don't get paid for another month and they don't start till the third Tuesday of the month, it's going to be 2 months before they get paid, and that's I think we run off a few people with that, especially those that maybe don't have credentials or are not retired.
That makes sense. What does it do on a payroll situation for you as bookkeeping? Would it be easier, harder?
Honestly, I can't give you a complete answer there. I haven't had a whole lot of interaction with our payroll side of things yet. But coming from payroll background, a lot comes down to how it's set up in the system. Normally your payrolls are already grouped, and if you have to enter your data, which our first payroll would all be mainly salaries. Everybody, their pay should be about the same. The only thing that we view is benefits and other additives or deductions that are special for that month. And so that would make that first payroll very simplistic and straightforward. And then if we had all of our hourly on a separate payroll, that one's a little more time intensive because you have to verify timesheets, plug it all in, verify stipend amounts, whether they're spread out or just a one-time lump sum.
Would that make it easier?
It can. It's one of those. It could go both ways depending on how it is handled.
And Lexi did share with me it wouldn't make it more difficult. Really, outside of that first payroll of doing it, and then it'd be automatic. And yeah.
And Chronos Juice has been suspended for time cards?
Yes. When I met with principals on that, they let me know that several of them spend hours every month just fixing up issues that we're having. Even other departments, only one department wanted to keep it, and that was our maintenance department. But everyone else was in favor of not using it for time cards
So
or
that's
the
going
time
back to
keeping.
Yes. Paper for right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. All right. I guess we do need anybody have any further questions on the handbook for the guest teachers and the information that Ms. Whitmire shared? Then I would entertain a motion for approval of the guest teacher handbook.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Sukan.
Second.
Second by Mr. Claridge. Further comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Bus routes.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
can I be excused?
Yes.
Can I talk to you real quick? Thanks. Sorry, everyone.
Enjoy. Approval of bus routes, emergency pickup times, and that includes emergency routes. Again, when I read through that, I just thought, how do these teachers or these bus drivers know where they're going? But we approve this every year, so we need to look at it again. So, do you have any questions? Anybody?
Is that a real question?
What?
I said, is that a real question?
A real question.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do they read it? But no, that's not what.
No, it's definitely.
Well, they do a great job.
They do an amazing job.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion that we approve the emergency.
The bus routes and emergency pickup times. Okay, motion by Mr. Sukan to approve the bus routes and emergency pickup times. Second by Mrs. Anderson. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have the SRO agreements. There's one for the Sheriff's Department for the Sheriff's Department sponsored school resource officer, as well as the one from the Police Department, City of Rupert, that does Rupert Elementary and East Minico. Anybody have any? And DSC, yes. Thank you.
Are you good with these?
Yeah.
Look okay to you?
Yeah. Okay. I did meet with the Sheriff's Department today and Officer Higgins, and
nice.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay.
Great.
I don't know if music changed it.
No.
We changed the price last year for the cost.
But the actual agreement
concerned about the cost
Oh,
of the agreement.
Yeah.
Okay,
I didn't
alright.
see anything changing
No.
in the
I
agreement
didn't
still.
either.
Madam, oh,
I would entertain a motion for approval of the SRO agreements.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to agree the SRO 23-24 police. Can we do them together or separate?
Together.
Okay. And the 23-24 sheriff's
Okay.
agreement.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Anderson, second by Mr. Sukan. Any further comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the Evans, Polson, and Catmull State Audit. We need to give them our blessing to go ahead and do the audit that is turned into the state every year.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion for approval for the audit.
Okay, motion by Mr. Sukan,
Second.
second by Mrs. Anderson. Any comments, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. What is the opinion on whether we want an approval for the in-depth district audit? Are we going to wait and see, or what?
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion. I mean, we can talk about it afterward, but I'll make a motion to decline to do the in-depth district audit.
This time.
Second.
I agree. I think we should let them do a cleanup.
I agree.
And see what happens and go with that. So,
We'll give it a little time and then
yeah.
visit it again maybe in a few months.
You have till September 1.
No pressure.
I was gonna suggest November, no.
I was thinking maybe by Friday, but
I'm not even gonna give you a date. You just let us know how you're coming every month.
I know our audit has to be due by November 10th to the state, so by then hopefully we have at least the majority of it.
Okay. So motion by Mr. Claridge to deny or decline to have an in-depth audit at this time, and second by
me.
It was by Russ, Mr. Sukan. All those in favor of declining to do the audit, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And we need to go ahead and address the idea of moving forward with the 24-20 through 26 levy that will be voted on in November of this year. We do depend a lot on this for using it for technology, for licensing, for software, as well as maintenance of our buildings. And I don't know what we'll do if it doesn't pass, but we need to get going on it. And so we need to get started with it with an approval.
What is the levy amount?
2.25 million, if I remember right. Yeah, it's 2.25 million.
And we'll get that when we do the ballot language, because that'll need to be approved as well. And really, we have till, I don't know the date in September off the top of my head, but it is coming up that we have to turn that ballot language into the county.
It's the 18th.
18th? Okay. So we'll need to do that. We'll have the amount, exactly what it'll do, with rates, tax rates, all that.
At one point,
Which has to be turned into the county, so you have to approve your ballot
Yes.
prior to that.
Yes.
the 18th of
September.
That's when the county needs it.
Yeah.
Well, the counties, because you guys
So
cover.
we've got to have that.
so we have to have the language approved before then, and that's our next meeting.
Yeah, which one?
We'll probably have a special meeting.
We're gonna have to.
I did email Michael Keith. He currently works for Zion's financing. My understanding is I think he's worked with the district before, probably when he was with Piper Jaffray. But he's going to have a phone conference with me and Daryl.
Okay.
And we'll just get his input on what we need to do, and he can help us with numbers and all that language.
At one point, I know the facilities committee had made some talk about maybe trying to get 2.5 million. Not sure that this is the year to do that.
Yeah, we'll just have to look at all the numbers really, and what's that going to do. I agree. I don't think we want to do anything that would increase tax rates. And so whatever we can do outside of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Some schools have used these to do new construction too.
Yes, they have. They've gone for a lot more money than 2.25 million.
They've passed some huge ones the last few years.
Yeah.
Yes, they have. just because of the or the supermajority problem getting bonds passed.
It was a different kind of levy too.
Yeah.
They had a different name on it.
Yeah.
It was
Plant facilities,
Levy,
Facilities, and ours is a maintenance and
just supplemental.
supplemental for maintenance. All right. Is anyone willing to make a motion to approve the idea of moving forward with the 24-26 levy?
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by
Second.
Mr. Sukan, second by Mr. Claridge. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. The Board of Trustees, on the new and amended and deleted policies, the Board of Trustees one just has one short
Just a little bit of stuff.
change.
ISBA.
It's
all
just,
from ISBA.
yeah, it's all from ISBA. So we could pass that one at this time. Policy 320.0 is the open enrollment procedure and form. Pass or, let's see,
I
we're looking
would
at.
sit on that one.
Sit on, that's what I was thinking, it was sit on that one.
That one is, that is the ISBA's version. We had given you the open enrollment in the spring so that our, administrators could use something. I've already gotten one comment, the K1 enrollment number on here is 20, and that's excessive for kindergarten.
That's what ISBA.
I know, we need to do a little bit more investigating on that one and see if
So-
we have the capabilities of lowering that particular number, cause that one's.
And I do believe class sizes we can, I don't want to say pick and choose, but we should be able to
Determine the
change that.
best.
Yeah.
Also, I'm concerned that the only section of special education they address is the self-contained units. They don't address the resource classes. They don't address extended resource. They don't address the behavior units. None of that, which we had in the previous policy. That's
So we might
concerning.
wanna,
So we-
yeah, we can do that
We
too.
need some more work on it before we even think about passing it. And then policy 590.00 classified supervision procedures. It is recommended that we go ahead and delete that one. And I don't,
it is a duplicate.
it is a duplicate, that's what I
Yes,
thought it was.
The language was contrary to, it was in conflict with another classified.
There's a classified grievance.
The grievance policy and then,
Kind of go along
Together.
with each other, but they clash a little bit. And it
yeah,
So what number was that? What?
590.00.
Right, but what's the ones that it classes?
The
The
grievance.
grievance one.
Yes.
The grievance one.
Classified grievance.
Well,
was
I'm
it
just-
594.5?
Cause
Something like that.
sometimes
know
that one by
I know.
sometimes we when we delete that, we'll say see reference and go to that policy number. I was just curious if that's what we want to do.
Everything in the classified one is per state law. The grievance one is per state law.
This one, for some reason, seems to be a homegrown one.
Oh, interesting.
I think it predates the grievance procedure and statute
Oh.
would be my guess.
Okay. All right.
So then we have good,
Never mind.
good reason for,
586 is grievance,
Oh.
unless sophisticated.
Okay.
Okay.
okay. So with that, the only thing, we need to do two things. We can vote on approving D120.00 and deleting policy 590.00. We can do that in the same motion.
And you want to hold the other one for a second.
And we hold the other one for a second reading.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Sukan to approve policy D120.00 Board of Trustees and to delete policy 590.00 classified supervision procedures. Deletion. Okay, that was his motion and you are seconding it. Okay. Works for me.
I think you should have to repeat that.
It would take enough time.
Okay, any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And this comes down to adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion from
I'll
Mrs.
second
Anderson,
it.
second by Mr. Claridge. All those in favor say aye.
No, it is not.
All those in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Russ has got to go change water. I can see him checking his phone. He's got to go change water. See, we take others into consideration here. My first was like, why are you even
Lexi
here?
must have
It's
been on
usually rain
watching.
harvest.
Oh.
All the subs would
And
be
he
on a
goes,
separate
he
payroll.
looked
This
at me
wouldn't go
like,
into effect
well,
until this
really?
year.
Like
So-
as in January next year?